after a very, very long hiatus. First, if you hear my air conditioner going on, which is this noise, I apologize. It's very hot in my room. So, some quick updates. I've been feeling very burned out lately, and I've been also having my house renovated, so my equipment had to get torn down for a little bit. And I've been working a lot and trying to get more clients for my side gig, which is Barone Media Solutions. It's my side company. Uh, well, I should say it's my main company. Basically, I get clients to invest in me, and I run their social media accounts and their podcasts and all that fun stuff. So I've been trying to do that and having to think over some other things. So it's been like a weird couple of weeks. I know I said in like I think 2 episodes ago, oh yeah, we're gonna record almost every day and pump out content. Whenever I say that, there's something psychologically in my brain that stops me from doing that, and it's something I need to work on. So I'm not going to make any promises like that in the future. If I just start doing it every day, it's just gonna happen naturally. Um, so yeah, was gonna record on Tuesday. Uh, we're gonna get Dr. Christopher Verga back on here soon. We're both having some scheduling issues. He's been pretty busy too with school and finals and all that stuff. So, professor life and radio life are kind of intertwined. Just kidding. That sounds reductionist. But anyway, I'm coming to you today with a very important topic. It is about a return to civic duty. So, what do I mean by that? There's been a lot of polarization lately, and this is and a lot of factors, socially and economically, and naturally, everything, at least in my viewpoint, results to the economic lens. Whereas, because of a shift towards neoliberal policy, where we have more of a focus on securing the profit over the people, and securing the need of a corporation over the need of a country. Uh, we have these issues now where they're reaching a fever pitch. We're seeing increases, especially with the pandemic and the lockdowns. We're seeing an increase in social isolation, alienation, um, economic disparity, evictions, job insecurity, now inflation. We're now seeing high gas prices because of a lack of drilling, a lack of building infrastructure to make up for the green energy push. We just shut off the gas with no plan, really. Um, we're also exporting gas to Europe when we really shouldn't. We don't have any sort of uh, economic isolationism anymore. We care way too much about the rest of the world. Basically, the United States citizen looks more towards to being a global citizen than an American citizen. And I have no issue with internationalism, but we're also the United States. So basically, we have a lot of these problems, and the neoliberal solution is the global citizen and participation in global affairs to the point where it almost eliminates it puts the goals and needs of one country below or above another's. It's basically imperialism because of the capitalist mode of production. It's not international worker solidarity. It's um, this weird capital exportation thing. Basically, my whole point of this is that we need a citizenry that understands how their local elections work, how their state elections work, their federal elections work, how taxes work, how, the importance of every role in society. Every worker has a role. The garbage man is just as important as the manufacturer, and the manufacturer is just as important as the postman, and the postman is just as important as the board operator at a radio station, or just as important as a line cook. These are all things that are intertwined to make society run, and run very well. So, the whole aspect of this is that, um, Wow, I really haven't done a show in a long time, and it's showing, isn't it? Um, wow. All right. Basically, my whole point is that I feel like a lot of the bad things in society are happening because we have no civic duty. We're not teaching kids how to volunteer. We're not teaching kids how to vote. We're not teaching kids the importance of all these things, and the adults are forgetting all the things that they did learn in school about civic responsibility and duty. A lot of people just didn't care. There was no motivation at the school level. Then there's no motivation outside of the school level because a lot of our community is based on consumption. There's not a lot of, in the adult at the adult level and post institution level, there's not a lot of things holding us together, I feel at least, to be a country. It's actually look for these things. It's not just inherent in the community. um, it's easy enough to get involved, but you have to really look to be involved. And the problem is that a lot of people aren't motivated to get involved to protect their country and to build their country. And that requires, volunteering to pick up litter. That requires gathering petitions, organizing parades, making sure kids are fed. Picking up where the government left off, essentially, is the role of the American citizen. And we're doing a terrible job of that because the left is supposed to be really good at that, and even the right is supposed to be good at that. But the bottom line is there's a lot of apathy and a lot of selfishness, and a lot of people don't want to pick up that mantle of um, uh, working for the common good. They look at it from a careerist perspective, or this is just something I'm doing because I'm bored or whatever. There's no like national invigoration in the activity. And I feel like it's creating a social disconnect because of a lack of these activities. And of course, it's, related to the economics of it. If you have people that are well fed and you have companies that take care of people and you have a government that takes care of people, then naturally you're going to have a society that works and feels like, they have a place here. But that's changed a lot for a vast majority of people. In a way, we need a government, a business structure, and institutions that bring us that model of patriotism, right? There's none of these things exist anymore. We don't have, like, in Lenin's Russia, they had these things called Subotniks, and I've spoke about the Subotniks at great length. I'd say about like last year, and basically they were Saturdays that young pioneers, which is basically the Soviet version of the Boy Scouts, they would have activities, and one of the activities that they volunteered to do was to build the Trans-Siberian Railway. They wanted to build. These kids wanted to build a railroad from that spanned all across Siberia, and they were able to organize with other young pioneer groups and Communist Party groups to go and build these things. Why don't we have things like that here? We don't have, people that think outside the box. We have people that now there's some good things that Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts do like that. So there's some that make, really simple projects like, a free library that you find every now and then, like one of those library birdhouse things where you like unlock and you take a book and you leave a book. Some people build they build benches, they build, dog kennels, or they work with community groups to create like a community fridge. You know what I'm saying? Like they do cool stuff like that, but we never see stuff that it like a national project. There's no like national like big thing. I'm not saying that Boy Scouts should be um, building railways from New York to Colorado or something like that. But what I'm saying is like there's no like it doesn't extend outside of the community to create like a national project. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing either, but like there's the community and then there's the nation, and they're both intertwined with each other. I just wish that, even extending beyond the community, like there's no, hey, we should have like these projects all across the country and try to coordinate them, working in tandem with each other to serve a service or a need that the whole nation needs. A lot of a lot of our activism today, and which is fine too, like I do the same thing. It's all focused on the community and like struggles in the community. Like here we're trying to shut down like the Brookhaven dump, but why we should another thing would be like, okay, well, why don't we connect with like other groups around the country or whatever. um but it comes down to a manpower thing too. That's the thing. Like we'd be able to. The reason why the Bolsheviks could pull that stuff off, and the reason why we can't, is because we don't have enough manpower. If you look at a lot of people, in the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, um, the community groups, they're all really hyper motivated people, and there's like 10 of them. It's very difficult to get like the average person involved in these things because they don't have that sense of civic duty or patriotism. Um, Ingrained in them beyond the, oh, I vote once a year or twice a year, and I go to July 4th barbecues and I wave the flag when I'm asked to. It takes actual work to build and maintain the country, and to build community, and to build a society and maintain a society. It requires all hands on deck. It's not just, oh, we'll let the government take care of it. It requires us as citizens to do so, and it's everyone's duty to do so. It can't just be like the same activists, that do it and either age out of it or stress out of it. It's got to be like the whole people. Towns should be holding food drives and having food pantries. Every town should, to make sure that no one goes hungry. There should be community programs all day long, and working with schools to make sure that kids always have a safe place to go after school, so they don't get recruited by gangs, don't get involved with drugs, always have a meal in their stomach, and have things that intellectually enrich them and physically enrich them, so that way they can be productive citizens of society. And I feel like that's why we have a lot of these school shootings going on too, because there have always been mass shootings. There have always been crazy people in the United States of America. But it wasn't since the 90s that it started to pick up at a level that it was unprecedented, and it really wasn't until 2000 and I'd say about 12 or 13 that it was a national crisis, that we have this crisis now where there's a shooting almost every week or every day in a school. It's mind blowing to me, and a lot of the and I know I talked about this on the show too, but it goes into the gun control issue, which is an issue that it's one of the only issues I'm passionate about. Well, actually, that's a lie. I'm passionate about economic justice, but the right to defend myself is an important one too, and to procure survival means like hunting is a serious issue for me. But to get back before I get dislodged on that tangent, there's a serious like disconnect with these kids and society, and the looking at the perpetrators of it, looking at what they cite: extreme loneliness, unemployment, anger. These are some serious problems. Now, are these just mentally ill individuals that we've failed to deal with and put in facilities that they need to be kept in? Are these potentially dangerous people that we've known all along? Was it a defining moment that caused a snap? Or were the current laws not being enforced to the point where they got... But the thing is, like, how did they get like that? And was it due to actual social alienation because of a failure on society? Or was it because of a neurological issue that these people face where they're prone and disproportionately positioned towards violence, and there's nothing our material society can do to change that? Some people argue that mental illness does not occur biologically, but it occurs through the environment in which society they live in. I, to a degree, agree with that. Again, like, I'm not a psychologist, but there's just some people that they're born messed up, and like they're gonna do some terrible things, and it just happens. There's other people, their environment influences them. Like if you have a family and your family are full of gangsters, you know, and they're like, "Yo, push this dime bag, kid." Like you're probably going to be pushing drugs and being a gangster unless you really want to get out of that. But it requires environment, which I know of people that they grew up in an environment like that, and then they had some really good mentors in school, or they met good mentors when they were in college, or community leaders that turned them around, and then they ended up doing something completely different than what they were taught to do. So it comes down to environment influencing outcome. So in a way, maybe some of these instances were influenced by that. But when you look at the mass shooter, a lot of them for their entire lives just seemed like pathologically there was just something wrong with them. So it's really it's really like making sure they don't get pushed further and get the resources they need before they become a danger to society or themselves. Um, that's why I think schools need to do a better job. So you see, the thing is, what schools don't understand, and I feel like what a lot of educators don't understand, especially in the era of economic downfall, it seems, right? Um, the school is the only place where children have structure and have the ability to at least be freed from a negative home environment. You know, I feel like it's the school's job to mold the child, not only just to educate them, but to mold a child into a productive person and to show them all the benefits of succeeding in life. And one of my biggest gripes with with the school system, at least when I was in, was the high pressure of college. Now I'm college educated. I graduated last year and I work in my field. The thing that irks me though is that there was a lot of pressure to do college, and a lot of trade schools and apprenticeship programs were made to look like for the dumb kids and the misbehaved kids and whatever, and there was a stigma attached to it. And then the military was just shoved down our throats. So it's either college or you go to war, or you have to deal with the stigma of being a fuck up and going to a BOCE program, which is obviously not true. You go to a BOCE program and you learn automotive, you learn hairstyling, you learn electrical, you learn how to make movies. These are important skills, and there's no like emphasis on it as being just as important because not everyone's meant to go to college. So showing that each field that you get involved with, each trade or profession, is just as important as the next. It's more like, what do you think you're good at? I think that would do wonders for kids. Having programs that extend after 2 p.m. and run until 5 with a dinner service. I think that's good enough for a kid to be thoroughly involved in a productive way without having to deal with the influences of drugs, alcohol, gangs, just doing really nothing. And it may be creating a good citizen, because there's also another problem we have too, where we could also circumvent all of that by just teaching civics and civic responsibility, where maybe we don't need such an intensive after school program. I mean, at voluntary, of course, you can't really force anyone to do anything, but I really think that the civics programs need to be funded again. When I was in school, when I was in high school, the philosophy program was cut. The civics classes were cut. There was a lot of things you couldn't do. And another thing that I noticed between, AP classes and honors classes and then regular classes was the variance of education. Um, you were taught more how to be a functional citizen in an honors or AP class as opposed to just, a regular general admission class. And that's wrong, because the general admission classes and the AP classes, honors classes, end of the day, you're all citizens. And I feel the school system judges a lot of kids that were in general admission classes versus, AP or honors, because it's like, dude, no matter what classes you were in high school, There's people that are going to be business owners and politicians in the regular classes, and then drug dealers in the AP classes. It could completely flip. Life is so callous and yet so beautiful that it does things like that, where it changes people's perspectives. And what you just did was you screwed someone that may one day be more successful than you thought, and they don't know how the country works, and they're going to be in the position where they have the money and therefore the ability to influence power, and they don't know what the fuck is going on. So, you know, then they're going to have to learn it on the fly. You should be told, it should be ingrained in your head, who the president is, who the vice president is, who the speaker of the house is, who the minority speaker is, who the line of secession is, what the there's not even an accurate education on what the purpose of the United States is. And it I'm not going to lie, if Twitter and Instagram can undo years of education in what it is to be an American, and what America is, that's pretty bad. And it's pretty indicative of where we're going as a country if we can't have a society that can survive a nasty tweet. That's pretty bad. There's no root. There's no material rooting in what America is. There's no showing and feeling what America is. You understand? The schools don't teach that. It's not taught. Like, hey, we're gonna physically till the land and show love to our community, and that's how we preserve the country. We're gonna have an exercise in free speech where I want, say if you were a civics teacher, like, okay, I want you guys to go and gather a petition for an issue you feel serious and strong about, and I want you to go door to door, and I want you to knock on your neighbors' doors and get them to sign this petition, and then I'm going to show you who your representative is, depending on what the issue is. So if it's a local issue, who your county legislator is; if it's a state issue, who your assembly person is; or if it's a national issue, who your senator is, who your congressperson is, or your House representative is. I'm going to show you, showing you, okay, who do you mail it to? Why do you mail it to them? There was none of that. There was none of that stuff going on. It was all just kind of like, yeah, this is the Senate does, and this is what the House does, and yeah, that's like your basics, and that's it. I hope you paid attention, gangster. Oh yeah, we beat the British twice, and yeah. World War I and II happened, and then Korea and Vietnam. There was a lot of protests. No more draft. The 80s came. Reagan. Yeah, prosperity, I guess, depending on what teacher you get. It was just kind of like so baseline, and it wasn't motivating. It was more like, this is just what happened, and we're here now. And then when I was in school, it was like, okay, history ended at 9/11, and now we're there, and yeah, Obama's the president. That was literally like high school for me, you know? There's no rooting. I feel like that's a lot of a problem, is that there's no rooting in, there's no grounding of the person in the country. It's more just like analyzing America from a distance without actually participating in what it means to be an American. And for me, when I was younger, I was taught what it meant to be an American from my grandparents, really. My nonno was a World War II veteran. He was a Normandy veteran. So, to me, that was like, I got my lesson in what it meant to be American, and feel that way, from him, and from my nonny, and from my parents. You know what I mean? Like, it was more like I felt involved, even though I wasn't doing anything active. And then in my later years, when they unfortunately passed, I got involved politically. And I was very radical, of course. And I just was, because when you're a kid, you do these things. Um, and then, in college, it was just kind of like, okay, well, now I need to apply these ideas into the real world, definitely. The point is that, like, and I've definitely changed. If you even listen to, I say this like every 6 months, it's weird, but like, if you listen back, you'll see my viewpoint on things have changed a lot. And the whole point that I was trying to make is that, like, I started to be more involved, and the more involved you are, that's participating in the American experiment. It's like, okay, well, what part of this democracy works and what doesn't work? Um, some people want to burn it all down, and some people don't. But at the end of the day, that's just as American as not wanting to burn it down or burning it down. The whole concept of it is that you're trying to make where you live better, and where we live happens to be the United States. So it's right now we're at a fever pitch, where we have these two radical sides. You have the radical right and the radical left. You have basically progressive capitalism and reactionary capitalism fighting each other for dominance of what happens. The progressive side of it wants more. They're optimistic to the point where they're not rooted in reality, where it's like, we should just leave NATO. Okay, but that means NATO is going to want to attack us, or potentially attack us if we leave NATO, because other military alliances will form, and there's going to be a power vacuum. And if America rejects them, they may go to Russia, because the Europeans don't want to get attacked by Russia, or they'll declare neutrality or form alliances with themselves, and then there's going to be an issue between America and them. You understand? So, the thing is that if we're going to have, I'm going to go for the socialist side of things and then the Republican side of things. Basically, like, the progressives, like, what they fail to realize that the socialists do, and by socialists I mean like Marxist Leninists, or just like regular people as well. What a lot of them don't realize is that if we leave these alliances, or we shut off the gas and then ask OPEC and other nations to build gas first, we're going to need a universal standing army, which means everyone gets a gun and everyone's trained on how to use that gun, because we're going to make a lot of enemies with the world if we just leave NATO. I don't like NATO either, but we have to have infrastructure in place. We have to have more defenses in our natural soil and in our borders. We have to have a trained and armed populace. We have to have a responsible populace. We have to have a population that knows how to take care of itself in the event that it gets cut off if there's an invasion. Do you understand? Like, no one here is prepared for that. We're all very divided, and we're going to get, split apart if a war is declared. So, and we have a NATO member right to our north, which is Canada, and we have a not-so-happy southern neighbor that's kind of tired of our shit, which is Mexico. Fun fact, we've been at war with both Canada and Mexico in the past, and they're still pissed about it. Fun fact. The second thing is the gas and energy thing. This is another thing that doesn't really make sense, and why I think they're unrealistic is because, and this is a very noble goal, and it's a scary thing to contemplate with, but climate change is happening, and it's happening fast, so they're just like, shut off the gas, stop mining and drilling. Okay, but the problem is, all of our cars are gas. Our buses are gas, our trains are gas, planes are gas, boats are gas, tanks are gas, jets are gas, everything's gas. So naturally, we have to get gas from somewhere. So if we stop drilling and then we export the minimal amount we drill to Europe, to Ukraine and Europe, we have to ask OPEC and Saudi Arabia to drill for more oil and buy more oil. And that's going to just increase the pollutants and the pollution all around the world, which inevitably affect us in America because, we're part of the earth. We're not above, below, outside, any of that. We're part of the international earth. So, the effects of drilling in Saudi Arabia will affect Southern California. You might as well just drill in America and make it cheaper for us. We're going to choke on fumes anyway. We might as well just at least not be poor and die. You know what I mean? There's just easier ways to deal with that. It's just simple, just drill, and then, instead of bailing out the oil companies and giving them bonuses and shit, just take that money and invest in green infrastructure, and then problem solved. It's going to just be easier to switch over the more we invest in it. That doesn't mean we have to stop production. It just means we have to shift over, at a reasonable pace. The radical Republican, on the other hand, the radical right, there's an issue there. mostly because of the fact that they want to own the libs. They're trying to be like Trump. Um, their policies on their social policies are really toxic, but the problem is that like, and they're a little unrealistic too because they're not really understanding that the average American doesn't really care if someone's trans or not, or what bathroom. Like if I see an all gender bathroom, I mean I kind of just like laugh a little bit because it's like who really gives a shit. But like that's like the most extreme reaction from the average person. It's like really like just piss in the bathroom, bro. Like I ain't gonna hold you. If I saw a girl peeing in the men's room, I'd be like, I'm out of here, bro. Um, that's really it. Seriously. Um, or vice versa. I would hope the same. Because you know, there's even single stall bathrooms, right? Like there's a women's bathroom and there's a men's bathroom, but they're just single use, like single occupancy. And I ain't gonna hold you, man. I've taken a fat shit in the single occupancy women's bathroom before because some dude was in that bathroom. You gotta do what you gotta do, man. If you gotta pee or poo or barf or whatever you gotta do, man, you go to the bathroom. I don't care what's in your pants. I feel like there's some social values that are over exaggerated, such as the abortion issue, or um, I feel like there's other things that are exaggerated, like the sexual education, sex ed. This is nothing new. It's always been a target of the Republican Party. But it's to the point where it's like, oh my God, they use like the one-off example of a drag queen like reading to a bunch of kids, or like a really inappropriate lecture in a school district as proof that the progressives are evil. And it's like, no, I mean, it's literally that one teacher being an idiot. Like they're isolated cases. It's not like every kid is coming back like that. You understand? Like over hypersexualized because of their health class. They're hypersexualized because their parents bought them a smartphone at 6 and they found Pornhub at 10 and they've been jerking off since they were 10 and they're on OnlyFans and they want to they're in high school and they're like, "Oh, I could just make money jerking off on the internet. You know, I'm going to go sell my body. I don't need to pay attention to math class." We have a problem where there's not. That's like the serious problem. That's where the hypersexuality comes from. That's where a lot of the social degeneration comes from because the parents, the things too is like we can teach all the civic responsibility we want, but at the end of the day the parents also need to be parents and not give their kids phones with access to the internet like that, because literally they are going to be terrible people with access to this stuff. I mean, there's no good reason why why a 6-year-old or a 5-year-old should be given an iPhone or an iPad with internet, and there's no need for any of that. I mean, when I was growing up, it was a little different. Um, Smartphones were still really new. Not everyone had one. I think everyone had one by the time I was in ninth grade. Everyone had a smartphone, but there's still people that were rocking like flip phones and shit like every now and then. Um, computers were more of a big thing. Like laptops were a bigger thing because it's like, oh, you get a computer, like that's so cool. Um, you could watch two girls, one cup with it. You know what I mean? So that was like the biggest thing, was just looking up weird shit on the computer, and then just being like going to your friends at lunch and be like, "Yo, I saw this bitch take a shit in a cup, bro, and then eat it. That was insane." You know what I mean? Like that was the crazy shit. That was like the crazy stuff where you'd go on the dark web. You know what I mean? But these kids, like, now they're just stuck on social media and they're iPad kids, so like a lot of their interaction is just on the phone. Um, there's no. It's a lot of things. There's a lot of parent issues. There's a lot of school issues. There's a lot of economic issues that culminate in it. I know I'm kind of just like ranting at this point. Um, it's just this is all stuff that's like been on my mind for a while, and um, I want to get it down more down pat and really talk about them break by break. Um, but really, like my major issue is that there's a lot of social alienation out there that's leading to mass shootings, that's leading to depression, that's leading to um, these insane responses from both the right and the left that aren't tackling the issue. What I will say, what I do have a definitive position on is the gun control debate. Um, if we teach civic responsibility and we effectively mitigate the effects of social alienation and isolation, and we actually take care of people that are at risk, we won't need gun control. Because the issue isn't the gun, the issue is the society that necessitates the behavior that looks for the gun and what it can do. You understand? It's not the gun itself. Like, if you want, like, for the people, and this is what always cracks me up about the left too, is that like, um, we're all like, and I'm guilty of saying this in the past too, like, you know, all cops are white supremacists. There's a white supremacy problem. Da da da. But then here's the thing, right? Like, you're all about community policing, and you're all about the people policing their streets. Why would you not want the people to have guns then? If the police are ineffective and you're afraid of roaming white supremacist militias, wouldn't you want guns to protect your community? Wouldn't you want that? No, not even slightest. Or the people that say, "Oh, climate change is coming any day now. We need to be prepared." Okay, so don't you want a gun to prepare for the collapse of society, or at least to get your own food? Or the people that are like, "Oh my God, we need to help Ukraine in any way we can. We don't want Russia to invade here." So don't you want a gun to fight Russians if they invade? Duh. So, there's a lot of stupid things like that. Oh, well, what do you need an AR-15 for? What do you need a semi-automatic rifle for? To at least go to toe with an invading enemy force? That's like the whole point. It's like a lot of people are like, "Oh, we should leave NATO. We should be anti-imperialist. We should stick it to the capitalist world." All right, yeah, but you do understand that they're going to try and intervene and invade, or at least launch terrorist attacks against us, right? So, like, we need an armed populace and a trained populace to defend our country, because we would be in a siege state. You understand? Like everyone would not fuck with us. No one would like us. We're going to need to build community gardens. We're going to need to start producing things at home again. We're going to need to rebuild our infrastructure. We're going to need to build military infrastructure on the northern and southern border and the border of Alaska and Canada. And then, we're going to have to get our Navy squared away. There's so many things that, like, we're going to need to do to prepare to leave and be our own isolationist project, because a lot of people are going to be pissed off at us if we pull out. If we pull out of anything. So we got to make sure all our bases are secured. You know what I'm saying? And part of that is the universal standing army, meaning every American citizen being armed and trained and, basically being the fallback point. It's up to us to defend our country, but it's also up to us to maintain our country through food security, through paving roads, through making sure elections run smoothly, through helping the elderly. We don't have a civic responsibility culture. It's dying out. You see more old people doing it because that's what they were learned to do. That's what they were grown up to do. Now, fortunately, we see more young people in politics, which is really nice to see. But at the same time, there's a lot more young people, a lot more people my age that just don't care or don't know anything. And that's pretty bad. It's really bad. Thank you again for listening to another episode of Backpacking America. That was really cool, you guys. Stick around this long. It's nice to be behind the microphone again. I kind of missed it. Hopefully we'll get a couple more episodes under our belt soon and flesh out some more of the ideas that I talked about here. But really cool seeing you guys again. If you have any ideas or whatever, just reach out by sending a DM and or just call me or whatever if you know me. And just shoot some ideas and we'll get it done. All right, guys, thanks for listening again. This is episode 193. Until next time.